We got the dates. My favorite game, I think, maybe of the entire year, is in week 1, Tony. Baltimore. In Buffalo, I believe. How? They're just giving us this kind of steak, filet mignon, on the first week of the season? This is beautiful. I'm so excited for this game. I don't think that this game is going to matter so much because it's so early down the stretch of the season in the AFC race, but we're going to find out right away, like, what type of energy these two teams are on.
Well, so I do think that these type of games matter when you get down to playoff seeding. Because I think
like tiebreakers, yeah.
Yes, I think both these teams have a great chance to win their division. And if they both end up being 12, 13 win ball clubs this year, then all of a sudden we're sitting in a situation where it's like, hey, remember all the way back on September 7th, Sunday Night Football, when it was 33-38 and that team won, and Lamar Jackson jumped out to his early, third MVP winning season type play. So it's like, I saw this and I was like, the NFL really was like, hey, we're giving you in all these primetime spots, we're giving you who we think are marquee matchups and quarterbacks, even as to go like for the Monday night game where it's like, hey, we got 2 rookie quarterbacks from that class with 2 of the most exciting play callers in the Bears and the Vikings on Monday Night Football. Like, we're not going to disappoint at any point in any of these primetime games because it starts off with the Eagles and Chargers and Chiefs, and like every spot is for primetime week 1 is a reason to be psyched.
Yeah, they didn't hold back at all. The Chargers are in Brazil there on Friday. We're going to talk about the entire Chargers schedule later in the show as well. That first game to open the year, which we're going to do a deep dive on, like week 1, they deliver every year. They want to start the season off strong, but then when you even go to week 2, Tony, Monday Night Football, that Carroll versus Harbaugh rivalry is going to get renewed in front of the whole world early on in the season. One guy's got his back. One guy's got his back. I mean, it is going to be a good one there. And then also week 2, Super Bowl rematch in Arrowhead. No biggie. Just throwing that in there. The Eagles, Chiefs. That's going to be interesting. And Philly, who just destroyed KC in the Super Bowl, now goes to KC and gets to play them in front of their fans. I mean, just baked in storylines.
Yes. And then this is like week 2 is our first the Monday night doubleheader, right? So it's like I'll be totally locked in on the Chargers game, obviously, but then you also get Bucs and Texans, like 2 really interesting teams that I think people are going to be high on, as far as like their overall outcome for this season there. But even a situation where it's like Falcons, Vikings in that game. Imagine a scenario in which
so some news just actually dropped.
What's that?
Chargers selling 10% of the team. Whoa.
But that's like, I feel like we hear about these things all the time, and it's really just to like for the owner to bring in cash.
Yeah.
Right. Because
quick money.
Well, yes, he's going to have like people are going to need to be paid, and he just spent $300 and some million on the bowl. So it's like now Rashawn Slater is going to want some money that's due in that guaranteed contract where it's like, hey, like I think it's the way the NFL schedules or the NFL contracts work is they have to put a certain amount of money into escrow.
Guaranteed,
Yeah, it has to go into an account, even if it's not being paid out till later in the contract. All of the guaranteed money goes into an account that can't be touched. So, yeah, there's, bills are due here. I'm sure Herbert's got a big check coming here soon, and Derwin's going to need a new contract. And he gives Khalil Mack $18 million, fully guaranteed. Like, you need some cash to be able to run this business. And he has been spending a ton of money because you got to think about it from this way too. Like, he's also paying for a very robust staff, lots of assistants, our strength coach, or I forget what his title is, but it's like Emperor of Physical Fitness or whatever Ben Herbert's title is. It's like that guy's making a good chunk of change, and Minter's getting paid. And I'm sure, Roman's, not hurting, not living in his.
Let's get another investor in here. another investor in here from LA. Let's try and find somebody.
The
Anyway.
real question is, like, who is it? Like, is it The Rock?
Yeah,
like,
I know. I saw
The
in the corner of my screen just barely go by. Chargers selling 8 to 9.5% of stake in the team. I don't know what they're talking about there, but we'll
It's a
see.
pretty good chunk.
I'll look into it more after the show. Let's get back on track here, Tony. I don't remember what game we were talking about, but one that I have circled because I want to definitely gamble on this game and put my entire house in the Pittsburgh Steelers with any quarterback. Mason Rudolph, Aaron Rodgers. If Mike Tomlin has to suit up and go throw it himself, I'm taking him versus the Seahawks in Pittsburgh, week 2. DK Metcalf versus the Hawks. Sam Darnold reportedly had a choice between the Steelers and the Seahawks and chose the Seahawks. The Steelers are going to come out and F5. They're going to pull out wrestling moves on Seattle in week 2. That was one of the better revenge games in the first half of the season that I saw on there.
I think it would be better if the game was in Seattle and DK was coming back. You know,
he's coming home.
And
they boo him like they booed Russ.
And DK just has one of those plays where you're like, DK has a couple plays every year where you're like, this guy is the most impressive physical athlete we've ever seen. Right? He'll just catch a slant and he's just bigger and faster and running away from everybody. And you're like, this guy's unstoppable. He should have 2,000 yards a season. And then for whatever reason, it's always like around 1,000 with like 8 or 9 touchdowns. So I think it would be more fun to see that in Seattle. But I agree, like another fun game and 2 teams where the identity wants to be smash mouth football. Like what Mike McDonald wants to do is what Pittsburgh's identity has been for 50 to 60 years.
Yeah. You got any favorites from earlier on in the year or maybe first half of the year? The next one I want to jump to is like week 6. So,
you can jump around. I didn't get a ton of time to dive into the schedule as much as I wanted to. Yeah, I went to the Dodgers game last night. Great game.
Oh hell yeah!
Mookie Betts coming up clutch in the 8th inning, just double off the wall to kind of put the game away. But yeah, I think that those final 3 games on that week 2 schedule are really exciting.
Which ones are they again? Sorry, I don't have it pulled up.
It's just the it's Eagles Chiefs in the 125 spot, so that'll probably be like the CBS game. We'll get Romo on the call and Nance, like that'll be fun. Then Sunday Night Football is Falcons Vikings, and I'm telling you, Mike, like in that scenario, it's like, so you're there, you're the Falcons. Let's say Penix struggles week 1, he's struggling a little bit. Cousins doesn't get moved. No. It's in Minnesota.
There's a revenge game.
Speaking of like, like baseball, does he just go like, hey, he just taps on the arm, we're bringing in the righty, and then you just see old Kirk Cousins out there in a Falcons uniform.
Oh, man.
Throwing on some chains and taking the field. Leading the Falcons on a
chains are tough, right? The chains are tough. He pulls them out.
He pulls them out. He's like, here we go, boys. Kirko's back. And then all the skull chants, there's nothing they can do to stop Kirk Cousins on his little revenge tour.
Oh, that one got me. I didn't even see that coming. Ooh, Justin Jefferson will probably be pissed if they lost to Kirk Cousins. I'll tell you that much.
And like for the record here, Falcons fans, if Mike cuts this up and makes me look like an asshole, I think I'm gonna
keep the for the record part in the cut.
Yeah, I think Penix is gonna be fine and he's gonna be good. He'll be.
I think he will be too.
They're not gonna make
so much around him. Like you got to at least be decent. If you're not good in that offense, you're just not good.
I don't think they're gonna make a move in week 2. Like I'm just doing this for the fun of the internet. Like I don't actually think Raheem Morris is gonna be like, I want to shake the confidence of my newly minted quarterback.
Hey, that's what Canales did to his. I mean, it wasn't just put into the game, but he just met Bryce Young and then benched Bryce Young.
Yeah, but that was also like he let him go 2 weeks, and that second game against the Chargers was like
hard to watch.
Bad. He wasn't seeing any.
It wasn't his fault. The O-line was a fucking turnstile, all 5 positions.
It was, but he couldn't even find the check down. Like there's a couple plays where he's looking to the wrong side of the field and the back is like over here, uncovered. It might be a 3-yard gain, but like, you still got to be able to get that ball to the check down, which he improved. Keep pounding.
How about week 6? I think that this rivalry is going to start to bud a little bit more this year, especially with this game being scheduled. Chicago Bears going to Washington to play the Commanders in the nation's capital. That's going to be fun. I think Caleb Williams going to be a lot better this year. I don't think he was that bad last year. He was a rookie, made some rookie mistakes, made some rookie plays. We expected it out of him because of his play style to have some rookie moments. When you look at it overall, you look at it on paper, you look at the stats, you go game to game for the Bears, their offense wasn't good for the first half of the season, and then it got better on the second half of the season, and their overall numbers ended up looking good because it got so much better in the second half of the season. Like, I feel like Caleb got better throughout the year. I think he's going to continue to get better with Ben Johnson, and I think mostly by week 6, the Bears will have established a run game hopefully by then. And that's what's going to make this game a lot of fun. It's that cat and mouse game of the Commanders' electric offense, elite quarterback, can score quick, can also take 10 plays to drive down the field versus a Lions 2.0 that we're building here in Chicago now. I think that game is going to be sneaky good. And I think by the time we get to week 6, the Bears will have shown enough and Caleb will have shown enough to have a lot of hype around this one.
I just think Caleb's going to have a better support system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as long as he gets rid of the football in time more often, nobody's saying, Caleb, you can't do those exciting plays, those things that make you an extra special player. Like, nobody's saying you can't just go and razzle dazzle. But what we are saying is you do have to play with a little more timing in the offense. You do have to say, like, get to the line and go, okay, here we are. I know that I'm probably going to go to this spot if this look presents. Here it is. I'm getting rid of, because your offensive line also needs that chance. They cannot be blocking for 7, 8, 9 seconds for an entire football game. Like, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And the athletes are too good defensively. But I think Ben Johnson, what he's going to put into the offense is going to be a lot of answers for him, like every play. And not to mention, the offense is loaded with talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Keenan Allen is phenomenal, but you're replacing him with an athlete like Luther Burden. So even at the very minimum, Burden should be able to get open just using speed often enough, like finding ways to get him either vertical or quick screens to him and letting him, kind of do his thing. But then you also have quick screen ability with DJ Moore. And is Roma Dunze going to be more in the Amon-Ra St. Brown role? Or is that DJ Moore? Like, they just have so many options. And then you have Loveland and Kmet at the same time.
It's stacked.
Yeah, it's a fun team where they went in, they took care of the offensive line. I actually have some high hopes for the Bears this year. And I think Caleb, I'm never going to judge any player, no matter how bad they are, on one season. Like, you don't make it that far. And a lot of times those guys just end up in really difficult to win circumstances. It's just what happens. And
I try to tell football fans all the time, you can use your eyes, guys. You can use your eyes. You can use your brain. You can use some logic. You don't have to just read the stat sheet and just go, oh, my God, the Bears only scored 14 points this week. They must have been absolutely garbage. I mean, maybe they drove down the field 7 times and failed, right there at the 30 every single time. Anyways, another game that I'm really excited about, Tony, and this is one that is very fun every single year. Postseason, preseason, regular season, I'll take it. I'll probably go to it, too, if it was in the area. Bengals on the road in Buffalo, week 14. This is going to be deep in the AFC playoff race. The Bengals are probably going to be in a very close divisional race. The Bills are probably going to be in a race for the top of the AFC, just assuming that they're as good as they've been. And, looking at their schedule, it's pretty light for the Bills this year. I think this game is going to be super important. I think this game, if it's not already a primetime game, it's going to get flexed. But Bengals on the road in Buffalo, week 14. Circle that one, guys. Circle that one. That's going to be exciting. We've seen some insane moments on the field from these guys on both sides of the ball against other opponents. And then we've just seen some bangers between each other as well. I remember that snow game in the playoffs a few years ago where the Bengals took it to them. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, wasn't that the end of the kind of the downfall with Diggs? Like, in that game, wasn't there like the standing on the sideline?
Eli Apple was doing his thing, and
not
in the sideline. Yeah,
back with my own quarterback. Like, I can't even talk. I'm so disgusted.
Yeah.
It's a great game. I don't know if I'm buying the Bengals. Like, I just have a hard time.
You don't think they can hold it together?
I just have a hard time taking a team seriously that's like doesn't seem to be that invested in their offensive line or defensive line. Like that's just not those aren't teams that I'm like, hey, this is sustainable. Like part of the reason that Joe Burrow had such an amazing statistical season is because the team was always getting throttled defensively. And that's when you're going to be able to put up crazy seasons like that is when your defense really isn't that great. Like I'm pretty sure that if you ask Joe Burrow, they'd like to be a little bit more complimentary where he's not throwing the ball like 38 to 45 times every single game. So it's the Bengals are a good team. Don't get me wrong. It's not something that I'm like, you're telling me they're going on the road to Buffalo. I'm probably just going to go with Buffalo, even though I don't think there's a huge discrepancy between the quarterbacks. I did want to circle back to week 6 on something I caught really quick here.
Okay.
This could potentially be like the last Joe Flacco start for the Browns, right? So the first 5 weeks of the season,
the Ravens.
First 5 weeks of the season for the Browns are Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers.
Also, by the way, why did the NFL do this, right? They gave the Giants and the Browns the top 2 hardest schedules.
Okay, hang on. It's only like that because the division they play in.
I know, but still.
You don't want a rookie's first 6 games to be that. It's why I think Joe Flacco is going to be the starter of the Cleveland Browns. So Joe Flacco starts on October 12th, and if things aren't going well, which according to this schedule that I'm looking at just on paper, I think this is probably like a 1 to 2 win situation through 6 weeks. And then you go to the podium and you say, hey, next week at home, we're getting the Miami Dolphins, then the Patriots, the Jets,
who's coming in.
3-week stretch before they get back into the Ravens, but the Ravens are at home there. It's like, I think that's where we could see the first Shedeur start or the first Dylan Gabriel start is that sort of week 7 for the Cleveland Browns. I'm just throwing it out there.
That'll be Shedeur's first game as QB2.
Well, would you rather have Shedeur making his first start in week 1 against the Bengals?
No, I'd rather have him in there midseason too. I would start Joe Flacco if I was the Browns to start the year. I think it's comical that he has to compete his way into position to be the QB2. That's kind of crazy to me that the Browns have done this. But we already talked about this into the grave, that the Browns clearly weren't planning on drafting 2 quarterbacks. It's just the way the freaking thing fell. It was the last pick of their draft. Why wouldn't you take a guy that you had graded in the first round in the 5th round?
I don't know. I kind of disagree with the thought that because I think if you don't have a quarterback, why not take 2 shots at the QB situation, right?
Well, you're already taking shots. You already have quarterbacks in the room.
Technically, yes, you do. You have quarterbacks, but do they think Kenny Pickett's the future of the team? Do they think Joe Flacco's the future of the team?
I just don't see what the point of trading for Kenny Pickett was then at all.
Well, you don't know how the draft's going to turn out. I think that pick, if Shedeur's gone, I think that pick still easily could have been like a Will Howard or Kyle McCord or whoever they thought was going to fit the offense. And then also too, there's the other side of the coin where it's like maybe the owner did kind of tell him hey, you got to go make this pick.
I think that's what happened. That's what happened.
So
that's what happened.
It's always messy. We always talk about the Browns. It's
we're going to hear about it eventually. It will come out. It's just going to take a few years. We will hear about it. Back to the Bills, Tony.
Yes.
How do they give the Bills? I guess it's their division, right? You got the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots. Although I do think the Patriots will be the second best team in this division this year. I think they'll be right there competing in the wild card picture. I think the Jets will be better this year a little bit than they were last year. Just kind of weird, but it's all circumstantial. The Bills, based off of previous records, they have a top 5 easiest schedule in the league. I noticed that on the sheet, which is pretty interesting. I think that if you look at the Bills' schedule, right, they got the Ravens week 1. That's that big game on Sunday Night Football. But then Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons, bye. Panthers, Chiefs, Dolphins. I mean, the Bills could go on a real run to start the year where they're looking at 1 loss, 2 losses, late into the season.
Again, if you're going to be this was the Brady thing forever, and it's with the AFC East for 50 years. It's been like this. there's always one team that is far superior than the rest, and the other ones are all trying to figure out what's going on. Like, how do we get a quarterback here? How do we get a coaching staff?
Yeah.
How do we get a culture and an identity? And you never get more than 1 to 2 teams, as opposed to like the AFC North, where it feels like they always have at least 2 teams. And it's been the Ravens and Steelers for as long as, most people can remember. But then you go to like other divisions, like it always felt like the NFC North always had the Packers and a really good Bears team, like a really good Bears defense, or a really explosive Vikings offense, or even a few times
competition.
Yes, Vikings defense. And you can go around all the other divisions that's pretty much the case for, except for the AFC East, and then sometimes in the AFC South. AFC South also has a little bit of that, like, hey, the Colts are just crushing everybody because they've got expansion teams like the Jaguars and Texans that are still building cultures and identities and stuff like that. It's like, the Bills, to me, are still the front runners for another couple years. I think that the Patriots are kind of on the cusp of something. And if Justin Fields actually hits with the new offensive coordinator, Tanner Hankstram, who was there with Ben Johnson, if he gets Justin Fields comfortable and he has his sort of Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith renaissance at his second, third, whatever stop it is now, then yeah, I do believe, like, when you look at the Jets roster, like, it's really, really talented. Maybe there's a little shortage at wide receiver, but you make up for that by having 4 awesome running backs, and I'm including Justin Fields in this. Like, you have four people that can carry the rock. So
I think the Bills have a good shot here to be a team that I like to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. And what do you think it's going to take for Buffalo to really go over the edge in the playoffs? I think for me, adding all these veterans in the offseason was a smart move. I think that's going to pay dividends down the stretch of the season. Last year, they were really young. They kind of took a little switch, on the previous era of the Bills and went a little bit younger. It still worked out. Team was still good because you have a phenomenal quarterback. You have a good defense. You have a good head coach. Well, now, that young core just got an infusion of really good vets. A lot of Chargers, too.
It's going to take for the laser technology to give the Bills the first down on the QB sneak.
They would have had it last year.
Come on. We already got the
passes, first down markers, 13 seconds. You name it, the Bills been through it. Come on, Buffalo. We're all rooting for you. Go on that special run already. Jesus. If it was going to be any year, this was the year to do it. Like, get our guys a ring.
As long as the Bills are not playing the Chargers, I do root for the Bills to have success. Like, it's just, I grew up in
yours goes even further.
My favorite teams to watch when I was young was Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, James Lofton. Like, those offenses were so much fun back in the day, where it was like, oh, dude, they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to win this. You know what? Stop taking my lunch money. I'm going to pick the other team in this one. Fool me 3 times.
Hey, I'm laughing because I feel your guys' pain. Trust me. At least the Bills get there and then lose. We don't even.
I really did. Like, when I would talk to like family members or whatever when I was younger, I was like, oh, I think the Bills are going to do it this year. I think this is the year the Bills are going to do it. And it's like they just never did.
They just never do it.
Yeah.
One last point here. We already touched on the Giants and the Browns getting the hardest schedules, which is fun for them. Let's talk about another one. The team that was ranked the number 1 weakest schedule, but I think it's debatable because it's a tie on the numbers between like 5 teams. But the 49ers came in last year, so it makes sense. You get an easier schedule this year, have a top 3 weakest schedule according to last year's records. And I still think they're only going to win 8 or 9 games, Tony. I just can't get on the Niners this year. I don't have the full schedule plotted here. Like I marked it down when I made the schedule release video, but I just think that the Niners, they're still kind of resetting the roster and getting used to having to pay their quarterback $60 million. Also, everyone aged, and they're trying to figure out now who's going to step up and fill in some of these roles of veterans that they've lost really recently.
So I'll talk about the 49ers, and then I'm going to give you a couple of schedules that I went and looked at of teams that I kind of I looked at their drafts, I looked at their off seasons, and I was having trouble sort of where I was going to start the early predictions, where I start sort of stacking and ranking each team. But in the 49ers case, it's like, can the offensive line like hit, and can CMC be healthy for like 13 games, 14 games this year? Because if CMC is healthy, they're going to win a bunch of games, Mike. And I know that they loaded up on defensive players that people might not necessarily be familiar with or whatever, but I think Robert Saleh is going to make that stuff work. You really need that one guy that's going to go get it. They have that in Nick Bosa. They have Warner, and like they still have some continuity. There are holes on the team. Obviously, they're going to be there, but like Juwan Jennings is a good wide receiver. Like Ricky Pearsall showed highlights. They still have George Kittle. Like they're going to still be a good team. Now, do I think that they're would I rank them over the Rams? But I have them right there in that area with the other three teams in that division. Which one's going to stay the healthiest? And is Kyler going to stop making crazy errors on the road every year? Like last year I was with the Cardinals. I just kept saying, this is the year the Cardinals are about to go on a run. And then it was like every time Kyler would just be like, well, here's a punt interception in the red zone. I'm like, why are we throwing that ball? We had 3 points. Like, just throw it away. And it was just the same thing over and over. I can't count how many times I lost on the spreads there.
Well, that's something the Niners don't have a problem with. You know that. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to be put together. Their system's set in place. I do have my doubts about Brock Purdy still, Tony, also. I think the day is going to come where, he doesn't have Trent Williams there to hold up. And Brock Purdy is going to have to be a $60 million quarterback, and he's just not. He's just not. And that day is going to be the day that all Niner fans are going to turn on him, too. And they're all going to want him out of there.
So it is one of those situations where, like, and this is kind of my problem with the Herbert haters, where it's like, if you just always doubt, eventually you're going to be right about it at some point, right? Like it'll just be
7th round pick. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'm probably going to be right.
You're probably going to hit the nail on the head at some point. For me, he's shown me enough to where it's like, I would not pay him $55 million. I wouldn't do it, but I understand that, like, you're not just going to ask Kyle to rebuild up somebody else at this point. And they still do have some really good players on the team. Yeah. It's not as loaded as it was, and it won't be that going forward since they're paying Brock. A couple of schedules I looked into. The Vikings, Mike. They have the back-to-back games on the road overseas. I think they play in like 1 week in
I remember that one, yeah.
In London, and then they play the next week in like Germany or something like that. I don't know. Internet, leave me alone. I didn't look to see which overseas games they play. But then they get a bye, and they come back, and they have at home versus the Eagles, on the road against the Chargers, on the road against the Lions, at home against the Ravens, and then at home against the Bears. That's that 5-week stretch after being
there nicely. Yeah, just put us right in there in the middle of their fucking hell.
The road for 2 weeks. It's like you're going overseas for 2 weeks, and then you got to come back and sort of, you get a bye week. The players are going to go away. You kind of got to get everybody back on like the time zone or reacclimated, and people aren't going to have seen their families. I just think that's a brutal schedule to come back, and then you get a home game, and then you got to fly to Los Angeles, come back, and then you get the Lions, and then you get the Ravens.
There was some stat out last year that teams playing the Lions or Chargers, no matter what, whether they win or lose, the next week had only won like one game the entire season, because you get so beat down the week before playing the Lions or playing the Chargers that you need to recover the entire week after. You don't get to game plan or prepare for your next opponent. You got to play them back to back. Good luck, Minnesota.
It's one of those situations where, like, it's why last year some of the better teams who were able to make it through against the Chargers, and then let's say like a Ravens team is able to have success the next week, is because you have the right coaching and depth and everything, all the preparation that goes through there. You're able to communicate with the veterans and say, hey, how's practice going to go this week? How much is the game plan going to change? Like, just being able to do things that are smart. The Commanders, like you said, Mike, the final 2 of the last 3 weeks they play the Eagles twice. I think that's going to be for the division because really their schedule doesn't get hard until like around Thanksgiving, and then they're going to be on the road for the Vikings, on the road for the Giants, Eagles, home for the Cowboys, away to the Eagles. Like, but I think that's the part where the Commanders, if healthy, are like, hey, let's go get the division. Like it's time for us to just go ahead and start winning some games. The Lions, there is a brutal stretch to start the season for them. They do get the Browns at home in week 2, but other than that, it's like, or no, I'm sorry, not week 2. In September, Ravens on the road, home for the Browns, on the road for the Bengals, on the road for the Chiefs, at home versus the Buccaneers. 4 out of those 5 games are playoff teams and like Super Bowl contending teams in that stretch. And they haven't even, and this is like, we're not talking about any divisional games where they still have to play a really good Packers team. Vikings defense and team is going to be tough overall. And then the Bears, like those are, which is improved offensively, pretty solid, pretty strong defensively, like really tough for them. How about my Carolina Panthers? Quick shout out here for my boy Harrison. They get to start the season, Jaguars, Cardinals, Panthers, Patriots, Dolphins. Keep pounding, Mike. How about a little love for the Panthers?
Let's go over that again. Jags, L.
What? It is on the road. It is in Duval.
Yeah, the Jags don't be pumped for that game. That's the week 1 game, right?
Yeah, so they actually start off on the road the start of the season on the road 2 weeks in a row in Duval, in the desert versus the Cardinals. Then they come home, they get the Falcons. Then they go on the road to the Patriots and then come home for the Dolphins. I'm saying, this is what I'm saying.
They're going to be 1-4. They're going to be 1-4.
This could be a 4-1 start for the Panthers. Their schedule does get pretty brutal at the end of the year where it's like, oh shit, the way they stack the schedule against them, it's like, if the Panthers don't win early, I'm not confident that they're going to win late. And then Jacksonville also, I think, has an interesting.
It's going to be a fun team to keep an eye on all year. Just keep a corner of your eye on the Jaguars all year. Just watch how much fun they're having there in Duval, even if they're not winning games.
I think Jacksonville has an interesting schedule late in the season, starting around Thanksgiving, November 23rd. They go to the Cardinals, to the Titans, home versus the Colts, home versus the Jets, and then they play the Broncos right before Christmas in Denver.
They could be a team that turns it around immediately. They got all the pieces there. They could just flip the switch right away. You got a quarterback. They do have a lot of work to do on both sides of the line that we've talked about already, but hey, man.
Late in the year, they get on a little run. They get hot and sort of like around Thanksgiving, post-Thanksgiving, and sort of win 5 of 6 games there headed in, because the final 2 games of the season are like Titans and Colts or something like that. So it's like after the Broncos game, it's Titans Colts to finish the season. I think it's 7 of their final 8 are against teams that didn't make the playoffs last year. Like that's an opportunity for the Jaguars to be like, hey, we turned things around this year in one season. Could be
We're changing the Duval chant, by the way. Duval. That's the better one anyways, right?
I'm glad everybody got in their shots on this, because this to me is like, this could be his kneecap biting moment. This could be his awkward Sirianni press conference.
He got brought up in the schedule reaction or schedule releases like 6 times. I saw it all over the place.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you? Because it's really difficult to watch. I remember when Joe sent it to me, I was like, I never want to see this video again. It was almost like watching like somebody.
Maybe it's the cornball in me that likes corny dudes just being corny and not caring. Everyone else around me is here, and I'm just gonna keep doing it anyways.
I'm fine with being corny too. I've been accused of it. Don't give a shit about that as a narrative. It made me uncomfortable to watch him the way he was like. It was like sing-songy and weird. I just was like, he needed a redo. And the other thing too is like they watched this. Like somebody on the social team watched it and was this is nobody gold. Around him. Nobody there was like, "Hey, coach, I don't know how to say this. Let's go ahead. Let's run that back. Give me something a little more aggressive." That was good, but quick note, let's do anything but that. there are director notes whenever you're filming something where somebody says, "Hey, let's go. That's good. That's a good start. Let's try another one and see what we do." And we pick the best one.
Everyone else said, "Oh, like that was bad, right?" Everyone in the room is questioning that Duval, but the social media director only was like, "That was gold.
Yeah,
get that out right now." That is gold. He's the only one that knows that you need these kind of weird, cringy things. That's what makes it go more viral, is when it happens by accident like that.
And I really think Liam Cohen can coach the offense. I don't know if he can be a good head coach. Like, I don't know if he can do that, but the second half
Baker story? You heard that Baker Mayfield story in LA?
I didn't. Real quick though, the second half of that game, Bucks Chargers last year, like he really, there were some missed tackles, so he still like didn't wrap up against Mike Evans, big explosive play on the field, but like he really did kind of like open things up and take advantage of that. Baker Mayfield story. What was it?
Oh, I mean, just really quickly, when Baker got traded to the Rams and had to play that game in 2 days, basically Liam Cohen was on that staff. Yep. Didn't know that, and probably part of the connection to Tampa Bay as well. But Liam Cohen, I guess, stayed up for like 2 days straight and just taught Baker Mayfield the offense, taught Baker Mayfield everything. He just did not stop calling him, was on the phone with him, in person with him, just constantly working with him, because he already knew that they were planning on playing Baker Mayfield the second they acquired him. Baker was told that he's not going to play in that game. So it's like, I guess Liam Cohen was like an agent of Sean McVay to like get Baker Mayfield only ready for this game. His job for that week was, we were just going to drill Baker Mayfield they had no one else. They were stuck. And then they ended up beating the Raiders with Baker Mayfield. It was absolutely exciting. But like Liam Cohen, those type of things, those little moments, that's the type of stuff that separates a coach in the player's eyes, in Baker's eyes.
So I agree with that and love that story. If I recall, I don't think Baker's the quarterback of record. I think they started somebody else in that game, and he
Baker
came
comes in
like the second series of the game or something like that. It was like, Al Michaels like woke up and was like, "Hey, everybody, we got this guy's only been here for 48 hours and he's going to start in the game." And it's like, yeah, this is about to get really interesting.
Finally, we got something interesting on Thursday.
One of the greatest situations ever happened. I remember how pissed off Joe was, and that was really fun for me.
Baker.
Bill Flames, I went Mike on the mic. With something brand new, one time for your mind. He gave me fair warning. Now it's time to smack him in the mouth with that raw sports talk from the town. Sweet chin music to your favorite sportscaster.